Will one of you fight me? Israelites, you win!
And so, is there anything that's been found in the archaeological record?
He was running away from Saul, and he comes to Gath, and the king of Gath sees David. Archaeology showing two streets, two different sizes of rocks, really good comparison pictures.
The skeletons that measure between 7 and 8 feet in height, which for ancient man would have been rather full.
Stuffed the openings with a bunch of brush and firewood and lit the place on fire.
Paiutes defeating the giants then suddenly became a reality.
Again, who's to say that it didn't happen? Of course there were ethnic conflicts, of course there were wars, and of course people tend to remember this.
Finally, they've uncovered the tomb of the giant Goliath and are shocked by what's found inside today. Come with us to an ancient Bible story. The tale of Goliath. This is a famous one from the Bible, lasting over 1,000 years. It's about David, a young lad who took down the giant warrior with a slingshot. People have long wondered where this Philistine giant was buried, but a surprising find has revealed the truth about where Goliath rests. So where was Goliath buried, and why is it shocking? Let's dive into this discovery. According to the Bible, Goliath was a tough opponent in a big battle between the Philistines and the Israelites. He was decked out in heavy gear, including a 125-pound coat of mail, bronze leg protection, and a bronze javelin. He was super tall, standing over 9 feet according to the Hebrew Bible, or 6 feet 9 inches according to some Greek texts. Goliath's gear wasn't just big, it was expertly made. His coat of mail alone weighed 5,000 shekels of bronze, made of interlocking bronze scales to defend against swords and spears. His bronze greaves protected his legs, and he carried a hefty bronze javelin on his back, showing he was ready for both offense and defense. His bronze helmet was another sign of his power on the battlefield, along with his massive spear with an iron head weighing 600 shekels. That spear could pierce through any armor, making it a deadly weapon. During battles, Goliath had a shield bearer go ahead of him, a common tactic to let him focus on fighting while being protected. Now, what led to Goliath's downfall on the battlefield? In a face-off with the Israelites, Goliath mocked them for 40 days, challenging them to send someone to fight him. No one, not even King Saul, could take him on. But then, a young shepherd named David stepped up. Originally there to bring food to his brothers, David couldn't stand Goliath's insults against Israel's God. He trusted in God's power and volunteered to fight the giant. It's quite a twist that a little shepherd boy took on a giant whom even the mighty King Saul wouldn't face, isn't it? King Saul tried to persuade David not to confront Goliath, but David refused to back down. He explained how he protected his sheep from lions and bears with God's help, and that he believed God would also save him from the Philistines. So David, gaining confidence from his adventures in the jungle where he fought wild animals to protect his sheep with God's help, was ready to make history again by taking down a giant, this time a human, instead of the lions that threaten humanity. Israelis instead of sheep. Reluctantly, Saul agreed and gave David his armor and sword. But they were too heavy for David. He decided to take off the armor. To everyone's amazement, David selected 5 smooth stones from a stream and his trusty slingshot. He confidently faced Goliath, who taunted him about his choice of weapon. But David declared he came in the name of the Lord and vowed to defeat Goliath to demonstrate the power of the God of Israel. David boldly declared that he would behead Goliath and let the birds and beasts eat him, ensuring that everyone knew that God, not the sword, brought victory. Then came the duel. When Goliath approached, David ran toward him and threw a stone at him. Miraculously, the stone hit Goliath in the forehead, killing him instantly. David quickly finished the job by beheading Goliath, marking the end of the mighty Philistine giant. When their champion was defeated, the Philistines fled, and the Israelites pursued and defeated them. David brought Goliath's head to Jerusalem and kept his weapons as trophies in his tent. And that is how the underdog David overthrew the giant Goliath, changing the course of history with his faith and courage. Initially, according to the Bible narrative, what Goliath came to do on the battlefield was to threaten and discourage the Israelites. He also dared to challenge their faith in God. There, he represented the pride and power of the Philistines, who were enemies of the Goliath's tomb. Unraveling the Calvary theory. For years, the mystery of where Goliath was buried has sparked numerous theories, each offering its own intriguing possibilities. Let's take a closer look at some of these theories. First up is the Calvary theory, which draws a connection between two iconic events in biblical history: the battle between David and Goliath and the crucifixion of Jesus Christ. It's a theory that easily captures the imagination. According to this theory, Golgotha, or Calvary, the place where Jesus was crucified, is also where David buried Goliath's head after defeating him. The basis for this theory lies in the meaning of Golgotha, which is Aramaic for the place of the skull. This term is derived from the Latin translation of Calvary, giving rise to the English word Calvary. So why was it called the place of the skull? Supporters of the Calvary theory suggest that Golgotha earned its name because its terrain resembled a skull, a notion supported by ancient and modern descriptions. Additionally, it was a known site for executions, where the skulls of criminals were often left unburied. However, the most captivating aspect of this theory is the belief that it was where David, the future king of Israel, buried the skull of Goliath, the fearsome Philistine warrior. Another biblical passage often cited in support of the Calvary theory is found in 1 Samuel 17:54. Here, we learn of David's actions after his victory over Goliath. As previously mentioned, David took the head of the Philistine and brought it to Jerusalem, while his armor was placed in his tent. This raises the question, why did David take Goliath's head to Jerusalem, a city still under the control of the Jebusites and not yet conquered by the Israelites? One interpretation suggests that David intended to display Goliath's head as a trophy, a symbol of God's power and deliverance. Recall that David had declared his reliance on God's strength, not his own, before the battle. He had vowed to defeat Goliath in the name of God and promised to celebrate his victory by cutting off Goliath's head. Thus, taking the head to Jerusalem could have been a deliberate act to commemorate God's intervention. Furthermore, proponents of the Calvary theory draw parallels between David and Jesus. Both figures are depicted as anointed kings of Israel and sons of God in the Bible. Jesus, as outlined in Matthew 1 and Luke 3, is said to be a descendant of David, inheriting his royal and messianic lineage. Old Testament passages like 2 Samuel 7 and Psalm 89 prophesy the establishment of David's eternal kingdom and promise his descendant, interpreted as Jesus, an everlasting reign as the Son of God. In the New Testament, Jesus fulfills these prophecies by being born in Bethlehem, the city of David, and being referred to as the Son of David, God, and Christ. This highlights Jesus as the anointed ruler of God's spiritual kingdom, surpassing earthly kingships. The theory of Goliath's skeleton. Now let's delve into the Goliath skeleton theory, a concept that has intrigued researchers for decades in the quest to uncover Goliath's final resting place. This theory revolves around the discovery of unusually large skeletal remains believed to belong to giants, as mentioned in historical texts, folklore, and religious scriptures. So, what does this theory propose? Supporters argue that these giant skeletons, found in various parts of the world, offer tangible evidence that beings of extraordinary size once roamed the earth. With photographic evidence, historical accounts, and recent discoveries of bones with impressive dimensions, Enthusiasm surrounding these findings is palpable. Each discovery promises to unveil a part of our past that seems more akin to fantasy than recorded history. The Goliath skeleton theory spans across legends and myths from diverse cultures worldwide. From the biblical Nephilim, later referenced in various texts, to the titans of Greek mythology, and even the giants of Norse legend, or the defensive Rakshasas of Hindu epics, stories of giants permeate cultural consciousness. This theory asserts that these tales are not mere fabrications or exaggerations, but are grounded in the real existence of giant individuals or races. Thus, the discoveries have the potential to reshape our understanding of human evolution, culture, and history. The recent discovery of the first Philistine cemetery has marked a groundbreaking moment in the field of archaeology, shedding light on the ancient civilization that once thrived in the southern Israeli city of Ashkelon. After over 3 decades of meticulous investigation, this find provides invaluable insights into a people often depicted in biblical narratives, notably the formidable figure of Goliath, who famously clashed with the young David in the valley of Elah. The Philistines have long captured the curiosity of scientists, historians, and archaeologists, yet until the discovery in Ashkelon, much about their culture, practices, and origins remained speculative. Daniel Master, a professor of archaeology at Wheaton College and co-director of the Leon Levy expedition to Ashkelon, expressed genuine excitement about the discovery's significance. "This cemetery will teach us a lot about the Philistines that we've never known before," he remarked. Indeed, the site's excavation has unveiled physical remnants of the Philistines, offering valuable insights into their customs, beliefs, and daily lives. Dating back 3,000 years, the cemetery lies just outside the city walls of Tel Ashkelon, representing a pivotal milestone in the quest for tangible evidence of Philistine existence. Archaeologists have unearthed individual skeletons accompanied by various grave goods, including small jugs filled with scented oil, storage jars, and bowls, items believed to equip the deceased for the afterlife. As excavations at Ashkelon continue and further analyses are conducted, anticipation mounts. Each artifact, bone, and fragment of pottery holds the potential to unlock secrets of the past, offering profound insights into the daily lives, practices, and origins of the Philistine people. In a shocking revelation, Dr. Richard Martin, a prominent archaeologist, unveiled a stunning discovery regarding the resting place of Goliath, the biblical giant. It was reported that Goliath's skull was found in a valley in the western part of Jerusalem, the capital of Israel, still bearing the stone from David's sling embedded in his forehead. Dr. Martin asserted that this finding validates the biblical account of David's battle with the 10-foot giant precisely as described. He went on to dub it the archaeological discovery of the century, if not of all time. During a news conference in Jerusalem, he emphasized that many scholars and clergy had previously dismissed the biblical tale of David and Goliath as mere fiction. However, the discovery of the skull in the valley of Elah, the site traditionally associated with the battle, challenges these assumptions. Furthermore, Dr. Martin highlighted the extraordinary size of the skull, indicating that it belonged to an individual of immense stature. While the Bible depicts Goliath as standing 9 feet tall, the presence of a small, round rock embedded in the forehead serves as compelling evidence. Dr. Martin remarked, "The Bible tells us that David killed Goliath with a stone flung from a leather sling. It might be, but I don't think so." The skull was reportedly unearthed during a routine archaeological survey approximately 20 miles southwest of Jerusalem. Dr. Martin and his team recognized its significance immediately, especially after tests revealed it to be between 2,900 and 3,000 years old. Aligning with the time frame of Goliath's existence according to biblical chronology. This discovery has sparked considerable intrigue and debate, challenging long-held perceptions of biblical events and figures. Goliath, the legendary giant. In the biblical tale, the imposing figure of Goliath serves as a compelling foil to the underdog hero, David. Goliath, hailing from the Philistines, adds depth to the narrative, embodying a people of intrigue and complexity. Historical records place the Philistines' origins in the Aegean Sea region, with their settlement along the coastal areas of Canaan. Renowned for their advanced technologies and distinctive pottery styles, the Philistines boasted impressive architectural and societal developments. Among their 5 major cities, Gaza, Ashkelon, Ashdod, Ekron, and Gath, Gath stood out as Goliath's hometown. As a stronghold of the Philistines, Gath boasted formidable defensive walls, temples, and palaces, serving as a hub of activity and innovation. It was within this environment that Goliath was raised, immersed in a society that prized martial prowess, religious devotion, and social hierarchy, always prepared for war. Religious ceremonies and rituals held significant sway in Philistine daily life, with worship dedicated to multiple gods such as Dagon, Ashtoreth, and Baal. Goliath would have been steeped in these practices from an early age, absorbing the myths, legends, and values that shaped Philistine society. From his youth, Goliath would have been groomed for warfare, honing his skills in weaponry and armor. His imposing stature would have made him stand out among his peers, likely undergoing rigorous training to become one of the elite warriors or champions revered by his people during times of conflict. Goliath's upbringing reflects a rich and diverse cultural heritage, shaping him into the formidable figure known in biblical lore. As a champion of his people, Goliath's family held a revered position within the Philistine hierarchy. During his upbringing, Goliath would have interacted extensively with craftsmen, gaining knowledge of metalwork, pottery, and weaving, a testament to the diverse skills valued in Philistine society. Additionally, maritime connections with other civilizations would have broadened Goliath's worldview, exposing him to diverse trades and cultures. In Philistine society, education focused on practical skills aimed at preparing young men for their societal roles. For Goliath, education went beyond mastering weapons and armor. It encompassed understanding tactics, leadership, and diplomacy, essential qualities for combating neighboring tribes and kingdoms, including the Israelites. The fertile lands of Philistine territory provided a rich array of foods, including grains, fruits, vegetables, and meats, as evidenced by archaeological findings. This diverse and nutritious diet, coupled with rigorous physical training, would have contributed to the robust health and formidable stature of individuals like Goliath. According to some scholars, Goliath's remarkable size and strength have led to the proposition that he may have been a descendant of the Nephilim. But who exactly were the Nephilim? In biblical accounts, the Nephilim are described as the offspring of the sons of God, believed by some to be angels and human women. This union resulted in beings of extraordinary size and strength. The presence of the Nephilim is noted in the story of the Israelites' conquest of the Promised Land, where they encountered the Anakites, who were considered a branch of the Nephilim. The Philistine hypothesis and urban centers. According to a theoretical approach, the Philistines were believed to be immigrants from Greece, who settled along the coastal plains. This perspective sheds light on the origin of the name Goliath, which is non-Semitic. Some speculate that it may have been related to the Greek name Alietis, given by Herodotus to the Lydian king who ruled in the 6th century BCE. Modern scholars also entertain the possibility that Elhanan, son of Jair, as mentioned in 2 Samuel 21:19, was the true slayer of Goliath. This suggests that Goliath may have been part of a separate group of ancient giants or possessed unique characteristics within Philistine society. Recent archaeological discoveries in the ancient Philistine city of Gath, where the biblical giant Goliath resided, have unveiled a new layer of monumental architecture dating back to the 11th century BCE, coinciding with the legendary battle between David and Goliath. Led by Bar Ilan University's Dr. Aaron Meyer, the Tel Esafi Gath Archaeological Project uncovered these remarkable remains, challenging previous beliefs about the city's history. The newly discovered architectural features, constructed with unusually large stones and well-built burnt bricks, suggest that Gath was a regional powerhouse and a dominant force in Philistine culture. These findings, twice the size of most comparable cities in the Levant, may have inspired biblical traditions of giants, including Goliath, due to the perceived enormity of the structures. Moreover, recent genetic studies of the Philistines reveal their Aegean origins, supporting the theory of their arrival in Canaan by the 12th century BCE. The ongoing excavation at Gath has unearthed valuable insights into Philistine culture, history, religion, trade, warfare, and interactions with other peoples. Despite being overshadowed by biblical narratives, these discoveries offer a nuanced understanding of the Philistines' adaptation and assimilation into the local environment over time.